It looks like I'm a person in the minority here, which really doesn't surprise me with Star Trek fans. I'm one of the few people who actually like Star Trek Discovery. I'm one of the few people who likes a different brand of Star Trek. Okay, I'm gonna put this out and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. I think Star Trek Discovery is the best Star Trek show so far. Yep, I've put it out there. It's the best one so far. It's miles better than Enterprise. It's miles better than the Next Generation. I know I've just admitted a cardinal sin. And it's ahead of Deep Space Nine, which was, up till Discovery, my favourite Star Trek TV show. Right, now I've said the controversial thing. I'm going to admit why I think this is the best show. And I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, because I know how much people are like when you disagree with their ideas. Firstly, where to start with this show? Why do I like it so much? Firstly, I'm going to admit the setting is in the period and where we are in the Star Trek timeline. We're about 10 years before the original series. We are in a story that they really didn't need to know. We didn't need to know about the Klingon War. We already had information on it. But Bryan Fuller has decided to set it here and tell the story. And it's actually interesting because we get to see how this war started. We get to see how a mutiny that started and a war flew completely out of proportion. Bryan Fuller, who was on Lost, one of the writers, producers of Lost, which is another great TV show in my opinion, seems to have created this part of the Star Trek universe that we did know about, but hadn't really explored. And he explores this story. And he's exploring it well. And this is what comes on to we're going to come on to the writing now. The scripts, the storylines have been great. He's brought back hints and mementos of previous parts of Star Trek, the original series, other parts of Enterprise, and built a tapestry around this show. And it's actually helped to add on to little bits. We hear a reference to the Enterprise. We hear a reference to the USS Defiant from the Terran Empire Enterprise episode. We hear about the Terran Empire. I'm up to see at the end of episode 10, and they're in the Terran Empire universe, and it feels a lot more brutal than what we saw in DS9, and specifically I'm using DS9 as that point and Enterprise at that point, because this felt more brutal. This felt more brutal. The other two ones were sanitized. Secondly, because it's by Bryan Fuller, who worked, I think he worked on the movies, the Kelvin timeline movies. We get a feel of the movies. The feel of this is fantastic. It's cinematic, in my opinion. The set is cinematic. The acting, I don't even say acting to be cinematic, but it feels cinematic to watch. big set, nicely dim lighting. Really does feel like Star Trek to the last 3 Star Trek films, the Chris Pine ones. Acting. Now I've heard people say they're not emotion. So I'm going to go into character building. Characters. I've heard people say characters are not, and they're not emotionally invested in the characters, but I'm not actually too bothered about being emotionally invested in a TV character. I'm sorry. They seem to pull off this great dramatic acting for me. Again, people are going to say it's not Jean-Luc Picard, it's not James T. Kirk, it's not the original series, it's not the next generation. And yes, that's true, it's not that. They act the same way. However, if you watch Star Trek, if you watch The Next Generation, and if you watch Babylon 5 in places, the acting does feel stiff because of this universe they're in. The goody-goody two-shoes universe that the first 4 series came in. First 4 series, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, first 5 series. It inhabits this positive, racially equal world that Gene Roddenberry was trying to come out with. It just doesn't really lend much to how you can act. Don't get me wrong, Patrick Stewart did brilliant. The cast of Voyager and all the other shows, they did brilliant. However, this feels a lot more free. Where are we? Have I talked about stories? I can't remember. The acting feels a lot more free. The casting as well. I'm impressed with the casting. They've not got a few unknowns, which in this modern sci-fi world you do get a few unknowns. With Sonique Martin Green, who was in The Walking Dead, the Captain was in Harry Potter, Anthony Rapp did a few. The Captain's actor is Jason Isaacs. Anthony Rapp, who did stage shows, I think. Doug Jones is well known. Shazad Latif, or whatever he's called. I'm sorry, because someone's going to get offended. Did British TV shows. Mary Wiseman seemed familiar, but I don't know where from. It feels like a more famous cast. It feels like a cast that could have been on Lost. And if you've ever seen J.J. Abrams shows, he manages to bring in quite big actors in the science fiction world. And I don't think I've mentioned the storylines yet. And I might have, but I haven't. The storylines and the writing are actually really good. Like I said, it feels more free. The storylines, we deal with a lot darker material than we did with Star Trek, with like The Next Generation. No, it doesn't cover racism anymore. It doesn't cover oppression of people. And it doesn't cover whatever Voyager covered. I'm sorry, but I'm still trying to work that out. It covers a lot of darker material. We're talking about torture, post-traumatic stress, other stuff that would be openly gay relationship, which would be considered really iffy in some parts of America. However, and I'm going to get hate for saying it, I think they've created a better world here. Personally, I know I'm going to get hate, and I'm going to have people tell me that I'm wrong. I know I am. I know I am. But that's how I feel. This is all my opinions, yada yada yada. And that's my opinions. I think Star Trek Discovery is the best Star Trek show so far. And I'll see you next time. Peace.